Today, I'm really excited to talk about Miva Multi-Storefront. It's a capability built into the Miva platform, so it's really there to help create a lot of operational efficiencies on the back end, help you grow and scale your business, get into new markets, and really do the unthinkable. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. We do have Brennan Heidi on the call as well. He's going to be monitoring the questions in the chat. If anyone has any questions, please put them in there. We will go ahead and answer them at the end of the webinar. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. So again, today we're going to be talking about multi-storefront. It's a really exciting feature and capability within the Miva platform for you to be able to utilize to expand your businesses. It's exciting because really what this means is you're able to run multiple stores from the same admin, but each store can have its own URL. It can have its own look and feel. You can take a subset of products that you feel you can market to a different customer segment and really expand your business. So it's really a very exciting capability within Miva. We have two strong use cases for this that we'll talk about today. The first use case is essentially you have multiple domains through a single store. So think of it as a primary store with additional stores. So those additional stores in this scenario can share the catalog. It can have a subset of the products. You can have its own look and feel, its own URL structure. But everything in the back end is a shared resource. So this is really for easy management. You're going to be sharing the customers. You're going to be sharing everything from like the payment gateway to order processing to shipping rules to tax rules. Really, it's all compiled into a single admin panel to create a lot of operational efficiencies on the back end. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like in the Miva backend. All right, so currently I am logged into Rick Wilson's Yellow Tea Canada. Let me go ahead and switch this back to yellowtea.com because this is where we're going to showcase that first use case scenario. So right now I'm on yellowtea.com. From here, if I want to add a secondary or an additional store, I would come down here to the settings. I would go into the URI management. From here, I can see the multi-domain. I would go ahead and add a multi-domain, but for our webinar purposes, we do already have it created right here in the back end. So from here, I'll click on Blue Tea. You can see that I have the name of the store. I've got the store code. I've also got my URL, and I can see that this store is pointed towards my yellowtea.com store. And then from there, it's really about making sure that I can, create its own look and feel. So my development branch for this is going to be Blue Tea Primary. From here, I can select whether or not I want to have the full catalog, limit the catalog, or limit the products. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel so I don't change anything on our demo store purposes. So from here, if I want to go into my Blue Tea store to make changes to the way the look and the feel of the store itself. As we can see right now, I'm on Yellow Tea. So yellowtea.com looks like this. We've got the logo up here. We've got imagery. We've got my products, so on and so forth. In the Miva backend, if I go into my user interface, I hop into my production branch, and we remember that Blue Tea is my primary branch for bluetea.com. So I'll go ahead and hop into that development branch. And from here, when I hit on the little eye, I already opened it. When I hit on the little eye, it's going to take me to mybluetea.co. So I'm going to be able to see what that looks like, how that's represented to my customers. I've got a different logo. I have different imagery. I have different text. If you really dive deep into it, I do have a subset of the products. So it's not all of the same products as Yellow Tea, but it is a subset thereof. What that looks like in the back end. So really determining which products are on the additional storefronts is I would go ahead, let me hop back into my primary branch. I'm going to go back into my Miva admin. I'm going to hit on catalog. From here, let me move this zoom bar. From here, it's going to look exactly the way it does today, but you're going to have a drop down where you can select multi-domain. When you select multi-domain, you're going to be able to select the products that you want on your secondary store. You can do it either by products, you can do it by categories, or you can also do it by collections. So again, it's really creating a lot of operational efficiencies on the back end. And then from here, again, remember I mentioned all of the resources are going to be shared between Yellow Tea and Blue Tea. So if I were to look at my customers, those are going to be shared. Order processing is going to be shared. If you want to delineate your orders based on the multi-domain, you can add a column here that says origin of multi-domain, and it's going to let you know, okay, this order is one that came from Blue Tea. So again, all the resources are going to be shared on the back end, but there are going to be ways that you can kind of segment things out so you can have that for your analytics. So that's essentially our first use case for multi-domain. It's really about, having that ability to scale your business, grow your business, and break into new verticals. Much similar, we have our second use case, which is going to be multiple domains through a single store. So we've had this in the past where our customers would essentially have two separate Miva instances to manage two separate Miva stores. But the inefficiency of that was that you had to log in to two separate Miva admins. So you'd have to, have a username and password for one, username and password for another. Where this allows you to manage two separate businesses, two separate entities out of the same Miva backend. So what that looks like, essentially, this would add a lot of operational efficiencies. This is where the resources are actually not going to be shared. So you don't have to share the same catalog, you don't have to share the same payment gateway, shipping rules, tax rules, things of that nature. So you can keep them essentially completely separate. What that looks like in the Miva backend, let me hop back into my homepage. From here, I can see I'm on yellowtea.com right now. If I wanted to add a second store, here is where I have Yellow Tea Canada. So this would take me straight into my Yellow Tea Canada store, where I'm going to have a separate catalog, separate customers, separate order processing, so on and so forth. So this is really creating a lot of those operational efficiencies. This is really valuable for customers that are looking to run multiple businesses on Miva without having to log into separate admins. Also, if you're looking to sell internationally, this is a great opportunity because each site can be catered to the specific region that you're trying to sell to. You can have the native language. You can also have a specific payment processor. Obviously, different tax rules. You might have different shipping rules for that country. So this creates a lot of those efficiencies for you to be able to manage. And it's just through that toggle back and forth. How that looks as far as on Miva. So if I went down into my settings, went into my URI management, I'm going to hop into my multi-domain as well. So this is where we see Yellow Tea Canada. And then we also have bluetea.ca. So bluetea.ca is actually a secondary store. So think of that first use case scenario. It's actually a secondary store, but this one's pointed towards my Yellow Tea Canada. So now I'm essentially running 4 different URLs, 4 different businesses out of the same Miva backend. So again, really exciting capabilities through the Miva platform. And from here, how I would, what I can take a look at as far as Yellow Tea Canada, I can go into the store settings, and this is where I can see, things are different. I'm in the metric system. My sales tax is the Canadian VAT, so on and so forth. So again, really keeping the 2 businesses as 2 separate entities so that I can service both businesses the way that they need to be handled. So really it's, honestly, probably the fastest webinar ever. It's really that simple to be able to manage and maintain multiple stores out of the Miva backend. So from here, I guess what we'll do is we'll take a look at any questions that have come through the chat.
Yeah, Sarah, I've been looking at a few questions. First one is from Sabina. She asks, do you have to set up a template branch first. So I think she's talking about the first scenario. Is it required to create a template branch to control the look and feel?
That is a great question, and I think I might send that back to you, Brennan.
Yeah, no problem. So it's not required, but it's likely that you want to do it. So the template branch is what is going to control all the page templates, all the UI of the site. And in that first scenario, right, think of it as like a mini site or a sub-site or like a brand site. You likely want the look and feel to be different than your main site. If you didn't want it to be different, right, maybe you just wanted the exact same look and feel, just a different domain, then you could map it. You could have multiple domains pointing to the same branch. But in I'd say 99% of cases, you're going to want to create a separate branch that's going to be used for that separate domain. It also gives you separation, right? So you can have a different logo, and you can change anything you want because the branches are isolated. But it is all tied to our template branches. Next question is from Andy, and you may have covered this, but it says, is it possible to have a superset of products, say product subset line A and subset line B, and that make up the superset and have each of the domains show on a separate domain? So line A on one store, line B on one store. Sarah, do you want to just pull back up that screen you had in the admin? Were you on the product screen where you're showing where you map the different products to different domains?
Yes.
So Andy, I think we covered it here, but Sarah, do you just want to talk to this again real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking at sharing a subset of the catalog between the two separate domains, you would hop into the catalog, you would go into the drop-down of multi-domain, it will take you to this screen. So right here, I can choose the domain of which I want to select the products to show up for. So right now I'm on Blue Tea, and I'm in the overall catalog from yellowtea.com. So the products that I want to be shown on Blue Tea are going to be assigned here. So I can assign it through products, I can assign it through the categories, or I can assign it through collections if I've built collections, which I currently don't have built within yellowtea.com. So to answer the question, you can have essentially a master product list, if you will, and then you would be able to have the subset of those products shown on the secondary domain.
Yeah, I think that's the primary use case in this scenario is that you sell multiple brands, and so you have this master product catalog, and you want to spin up a sub-site, a mini site, a location specific site, something that is a subset of the products that's at its own domain name with its own look and feel, and then you can control which the products show up on that domain. Let me jump on to the next question. Ricky asks, is this simply ability to create mini websites pulling from the same database? So if we want to market in Mexico, I can create a mini website in Spanish targeted to this country. So you kind of answered that, but maybe if you want to add any additional color to that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that is exactly what multi-storefront is made for. So for you to be able to expand your reach and expand your business.
Let's see, would it be possible to use multi-storefront to show the same products to online customers and buy online for local pickup customers where two locations have different inventories, shipping from the same warehouse, but local pickup for the retail store? I think because if you want different shipping methods, you likely need to have the multi-store setup where you have more stores than one. But yeah, you could limit the shipping methods to local pickup versus what your regular customers see. Next question, Ricky asked, do all revenue transactions roll up to aggregate billing tiers? So it's kind of a billing question. So if I have 6 stores in Miva, am I all charged the same price?
Yeah, so essentially within Miva, all of the GMV is going to roll up into what your monthly SaaS rate is going to be. So yes.
Are shared product lines between stores using the exact same product info, price, custom fields, etc.? So that's a good question. So maybe do the bold scenarios and talk through how the product data is shared or not shared between them.
Yeah, so essentially with the first scenario where you're sharing a subset or the full catalog, you everything that is in the master catalog is how it's going to be displayed in the additional stores. What you're going to want to do is to make sure that, because this has been a big question about SEO practices, because you don't want to be penalized by Google by having, multiple or duplicate postings or product listings. You would want to utilize custom fields to make subtle changes to the product description so that you don't get penalized by Google. So, but with that, within the first use case, you would be sharing exactly how it looks across the board, but again, utilizing custom fields to make some of those differences so that you don't get penalized by Google. In the second scenario, you essentially think of them as two completely separate stores. So if you want to, Brendan, I actually don't know the scenario for sharing the catalog from the main store into the secondary store. That would require some development work, correct?
Yeah, when you have two stores set up, there's nothing that's shared. I mean, there's the product catalog and the customers and the business rules, all those are totally independent. So there is no sharing technically. You can import and export the data from one store to another. You can build custom integrations to sync the data, but you can think of it as two separate product catalogs. Okay, moving on. Ricky asks, when orders or sales come in, will it keep them separate between the sites for order processing? Sarah, maybe you should go show that the order processing screen, the custom field again.
All right, so currently right now I'm in Yellow Tea, my Yellow Tea store. So from here, if I'm utilizing Yellow Tea, so utilizing the first scenario with the primary store and then additional stores, all of my resources are again shared through the backend. So if I'm going into order processing, so this is going to be a shared admin between Yellow Tea and Blue Tea. But from here, as I look at the order processing, I have a column here called origin for multi-domain. And this is where I can see that this order has come from Blue Tea. So this is where, again, in that use case, number one, all the resources on the back end are going to be shared. If we're looking at Yellow Tea Canada, this is, again, going to act like a completely separate admin panel. So the order processing is not shared across the two entities.
Yeah, and that custom field you showed, it's just a custom field in Miva that you can turn on or turn off. It automatically tracks it. You don't need to do anything special to get that. It's also available via our API. So if you had an integration to a third-party order fulfillment system, they could determine which orders came from which store. Okay, moving on. If I wanted to copy my current site and replicate it to a new domain, would page builder pages be able to be replicated as quickly as products are? So let me take this one. So it sounds like you're talking about the first scenario where it's the same site, you just have a different domain, so it's the same product catalog. The big difference is you have a different template branch. The beauty of leveraging template branches here is that you can literally click a button and copy the entire template branch, which copies everything on the site, including all the page builder pages, the page builder content. So you literally could have a duplicate of your website at a different domain in a couple clicks, and then you can take that and customize it if you needed to if you want to change look and feel, change the logo, etc., change the colors out. You can then do all that. Kamal asks, do storefronts share the same product database or product catalog? I.e., can we maintain products and images for all products? So I think we covered this. There's two scenarios. One, it's the single master product catalog where everything's shared, and then when you have the different stores, they're totally independent, and so you can have different different product catalog, different pricing. That kind of rolls into Jason's question. Can you have different pricing for the same product across different sites? So for example, wholesale retail, or perhaps a price group applies to one of the multi-domain sites, but not others. I guess this goes back to the what scenario you're referring to. So in the first scenario where it's a shared product catalog, the pricing is exactly the same across all the domains, as well as the price group, right? So you cannot have one price group apply to one store that doesn't apply to another store. So you know, I think you should keep that in mind when you're determining what path to go down here. But the second scenario, where there's two separate stores, the product catalog's independent, the price groups are independent, and you can control those on a much more granular basis. Sabina asks, use case number 1, might be a good idea to automatically create order workflows to separate by store, and the customer order notifications are the customer order notifications sent from the individual domain emails. I think the first part of that question is more of a comment. So yeah, you could leverage order workflows to put different orders into different queues based off that custom field that we showed. That's possible. You also can filter and do advanced search on that field too, so you can kind of create your own custom views to see one order, orders from this store versus orders from another store. The second part of the question, are customer order notifications sent from individual domain emails? Because it's a template branch, all the settings for the emails are localized. So I'm fairly certain you can get you can control the to and from email addresses on each branch. I may need to double check that though. I don't know if I've played with that use case. Sabina also asks, if you have multi-domain for different country stores where products are not shared, can you easily copy all products over? I think we talked about this earlier, sort of. So, you can import and export products, but if you have really complex products with attributes and kits and variants, the import-export doesn't necessarily work, or it doesn't work as, it's not a simple CSV import-export. So it's possible. I wouldn't say it's simple or easily copy everything over. So, you could do it at a database level. That can get kind of messy. You could do it at the API level. It's going to take some work. So yes, but with a big asterisk of it's not an easy thing. All right, Dave asks, if you already have multiple stores, what is the process? It's like multiple domains, I'm assuming, separate instances of Miva. What's the process to add them together in scenario 2 so they're accessible under the same login? There isn't an import tool today. It's possible at some point we create that, but you essentially have to recreate that store, add that store as a separate store within Miva, and then import all the information to it. So it's possible, but again, not a simple point and click. In scenario 1, on the subset of products, on some sort of products URLs, can I have products that are not on the main storefront? So you have this master product catalog, but you only want the product to show on the subsites.
So yes and no on that one. So you'll have the primary catalog. If the secondary store requires a login, for example, it's like a B2B store, or it's like a corporate gifting site, something of that nature, where they have to have a login in order to access the catalog, you would be able to accomplish that through availability groups. If not, then I don't believe there's a way to be able to have products on the additional store that aren't on the main store.
Easy question, but it's easy to get confused. I don't see the multi-domain tab in my admin today. How do I get that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that one, we will also send over the Miva docs after the call today. So actually, I'll share it on my Miva store over here. So this is my other Miva demo login. This is not Rick's yellowtea.com. So if you go to settings and go to URI management, you can see up here I don't have the multi-domain, but if you go down to link source and you select module multi-domain, go ahead and update, you'll go ahead and get that multi-domain tab. And then we'll also follow up again with the Miva docs so that you have access to all that information.
I've gotten confused on that before too. It's like, where's the multi-domain? And it is a little hidden, but once you know where it is, it's easy to get to. When it comes to selling internationally, which I think we did touch on this a bit. Which of the two scenarios is the best? Which would you recommend?
So this one is definitely a very complex question. So I think that it's going to need a lot more consultation to really come down and identify which use case is going to be best for your business. Really some of the questions that you should ask yourself is, what are the countries that I'm selling to? Do I want each website to be represented in the native language? Do I want their native currency to be represented on the site? Do you need a specific payment gateway, different shipping rules, so on and so forth? But please reach out to us on that one because it does generally require a little bit more consultation to make sure that we're selecting the right use case for your business.
Does the multi-domain tab or button in the admin show for all users in Miva or just your login? It would be for everybody. So it's a global setting. Once you turn it on, anyone with the right permissions could access it. So you could limit them through permissions, but anyone can see it. Dave asks, can you do both scenarios at the same time? Use scenario one on a subset of products, a subset of stores, and have scenario two for existing alternate branded domains.
Yep, absolutely. What we saw in the Yellowtea store was we had 4 separate domains actually managed out of the same backend. So we had Yellowtea and Bluetea, which are both Yellowtea is the primary store, Bluetea is the secondary store that's pointed towards Yellowtea. And then we saw in the toggle between the 2 separate admins between Yellowtea and Yellowtea Canada. Once we toggled on to Yellowtea Canada, we also have Bluetea Canada that is pointed towards Yellowtea Canada. So we're essentially managing 4 separate domains out of the same backend with Miva. So that is completely possible.
Let's see. I think we got through. Oh, here's one. Is there a scenario that would make sense to start a second store for wholesale only to reduce sales tax nexus? I don't know if either scenario is going to reduce your sales tax nexus. You're still, I guess if you didn't want, if you had wholesale and didn't want to charge sales tax to your customers, you can do that in either scenario, but I don't know if it actually reduces any of your tax liability or any nexus you have. You're still charging in the sales tax for the same states, the same customers. I think that is all the questions. Give it another minute. But any last questions? Oh, here's one that came in. Just to be sure, if I heard this correctly, if I have a primary and a multi-domain in scenario one, you're enabled to have a new product on the multi-domain site, not on the primary domain, along with the original products from primary. You can only have the product from primary.
So the primary site is going to hold essentially what we'll call the master catalog. And from that master catalog, you would then assign products to go into the secondary storefronts. Again, if you wanted to have products on the secondary storefronts that are not on the primary store, that can be accomplished through availability groups, but only if on the secondary store you have a login requirement so that you can select, utilize the availability groups so that the customers of the login can see those additional products.
Yeah, I mean, the easy use case here, right, is you have the single master product catalog on the master or the primary domain, and then that sells every single product you offer, and then you have a subset of those products on a different domain. That's the that's the most common, easy use case.
Yeah, I think for those of you that were at Camp Miva, this past Camp Miva that we had, Kiefer used the example of gifts.com. And so his master catalog was from gifts.com. And then he saw an opportunity to break into a vertical with eastergifts.com. So a specific domain for people specifically searching for Easter gifts. So that's really the best use case for the scenario one, is selling that subset of products from the master catalog.
That scenario, you think about it from an SEO perspective, you really can target the website to a particular niche, right? So instead of just broad gifts.com, you have Easter gifts specific domain name with specific, titles and meta tags, specific content to Easter gifts. And so it probably makes, targeting or building SEO around that brand or around that subset a lot easier. Guessing you would utilize accessibility to allow products to be not checked active in the primary domain, but be allowed to show active on a secondary multi-domain. I think you meant availability groups, but yes, that is the correct way to do it, is what Sarah just mentioned, with the caveat of, if you're going to use an availability group, you do have to be logged in on the subsite. There isn't a easy method to just hide the product from the main site, but have it show on the subsites without being logged in. All right, I think we are good. Sarah, you want to wrap us up here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate you being on, especially for those more technical questions that I don't know the answers to. Well,
No problem.
but thank you everyone for joining. It was really exciting to talk through multi-domain, talk through some of the answers or questions that you guys had regarding multi-storefront. We are going to be sending out some communication after this webinar that's going to include the docs.miva, so the instructions for setting up the multi-domain. I will also send out the landing page for if you want to utilize the second use case for the additional storefronts, so the two separate stores managed out of the same backend. And if you have any further questions or anything that we can help you with, please reach out. We want to make sure that you are utilizing multi-domain, creating those operational efficiencies, and expanding your business. All right, we'll talk to everyone soon. Thank you.
Thank you.